In this lesson we're going to be working with the color wheel. The color wheel is an arrangement of all the colors, both primary and secondary, and then also intermediate colors. We're going to start with our primary colors. Primary colors are the main colors that make up all the other colors on the spectrum. They are red, yellow, and blue, and we're going to paint those in the large triangles on this handout. When you're painting, I'm not so much worried about neatness as I am about your actual mixing of the colors. In between each color, you want to make sure that you wash your paintbrush really well and dry it, because you want pure paint. You don't want it to be watered down so much that it looks like a watercolor. And for this lesson, we're using tempera paint. If you notice, as I'm painting, I'm outlining the shape and then just filling in the center. Makes it a lot easier. Alright, so once you have the primary colors, your next step is to paint the secondary colors. And it matters which direction they go. For example, red and yellow make orange, so orange is going to go in this section. Blue and yellow make green, so green is going to go in this section. Blue and red make violet, so violet is going to go in this section. I'm also going to create the intermediate colors as I'm going. It's a lot easier and it takes less time. Intermediate colors are when you combine a primary and a secondary color that are next to each other. So if I'm combining red and orange, this would be red-orange. Orange and yellow would be orange-yellow. Yellow and green, green-yellow. Green and blue, green-blue. Blue and violet, blue-violet, and violet and red, red-violet. No fancy names, just the colors combined. So I'm going to take my paint tray, and you're going to always start with your lightest color, and you add the darker color to it. So I'm going to take yellow and mix a little bit of red to it till I get an orange color. I may end up mixing a little bit more yellow just to lighten it up a bit. You want to mix it really well on the palette so you have no color streaks on the paper. So there's a orange color, and I'm going to paint that right in this section here. Okay, while I have that color mixed, all I'm going to do is draw an imaginary line down the middle, and to half of it I'm going to add yellow to it. So I get more of a yellow-orange. And the idea is you want to make sure that it shows a value change or a color change. So next to here, I'm going to paint the yellow-orange. And it should be lighter than that first orange. I'll rinse my brush. To the other side, I'm going to add more red. And I'm going to paint that next to the red, so in between the red and the orange. And I should see a color change. I'm going to do that with each of the colors. So moving on to yellow and blue. Mix some yellow. Okay, and blue is really dark, so you really don't need a lot of blue. Get a nice green color, paint that in the middle. Again, to half of it, I'm going to add more yellow. And I don't need a lot, so if it's just not mixing well, I can go ahead and move it off to the side. Paint that closer to the yellow. The other side, I want more blue. want to make sure it's mixed really well, no streaks on your paint. Again, you see value change. Now you're going to continue again with the red and blue. Red and blue, you're going to start with your red. Again, mix just a tiny drop of the blue so we get a nice violet color. Paint that in the middle. And next to it, we're adding red to it. And then to the other side, a little bit more blue to it. There is your color wheel, mixing your secondary and your intermediate colors, starting with just your primary colors. To the lower part, we're going to be working with tints and shades. So a tint is adding white to a color. We're going to make this side of the value scale tints. Shades are adding black to a color, and we're going to make the right side of the value a shade. This is what I want you to do. I don't care which color you start with. Start with a pure color. You don't have to mix it. So I'm going to use red, and you're going to paint that solid color right in the middle. To the left side, we're going to add white to it. To the right side, we're going to add black to it. If you remember from the color wheel, I told you you always start with your lightest color. So this is the easiest thing to do. You're going to start with white. So I'm going to get just a little bit of white in a mixing section. And I'm going to add just a tiny drop of red. And it's going to make a pink color. In a value scale, it goes progressively from light to dark. So I want to start with my lightest color in this very first box. Then I'm going to add a little bit more red to that color. And paint it next to it. The idea is you need to see the value change. And then I'm going to add even more red to it. If you can't see a value change, then you can wait till it dries and paint over the same color again. So this left side is all tints of red. I know the camera doesn't show up, but that center one actually is a lot darker because it's pure red. To the right side, you're going to add shades. So I'm going to take red, and you cannot have any white in your paint. If you have white in your paint, it ends up making it a tone. So I took pure red, and I'm going to add a tiny drop of black, because black really is powerful. So just a tiny drop of black. And I'm going to paint it to the right. And I'm going to add a little bit more black. And paint it to the right. And then I'm going to add even more black for the last one. So if you notice, this value scale goes from light to dark. And again, if your colors aren't dark enough, you can wait till they dry and remix them and paint over it. Okay. For the bottom one, you're going to be working with a gray scale. So you're simply using black and white. Right. So, unlike this top one, we cannot put black in the middle because you can't get any darker than that. So you're going to start with black on the right side and white on the left side, and then you're going to mix them so they gradually get darker as they move to the right. Just like you did your value scales when you worked with pencil. So solid white. Make sure you paint it, don't leave it just the white of the box. So now I'm going to start with my white and add a tiny drop of black to it. And I'm going to paint it next to it. And then keep mixing. The idea is that you have to see value change. If you don't see value change, then you need to change the value. Also make sure that you mix it completely in the palette so there's no color streaks in each section. And by color streaks I mean I'm not going to have like streaks of black in that color or streaks of white in that color. It's a solid gray. Alright, and there is your grayscale value scale, going from white to black and all the different values of gray in between. So there you have tints and shades and color mixing of a color wheel.